Terry, you look different this week.
Haircut?
Hey guys, welcome back to this week's edition of Rugby League Outlaws, brought to you by our good friends Top Sport, onelittlefootyfan.com.au, and of course the Stubby Club. Please make sure you show them some love, especially in the comments. As you notice, my good mate Stegs has joined us this week. Unfortunately, Terry is off sick. We wish you all the best, mate. We love you. But we press on because Stegs, Rugby League is back. Kinda. We got some trials. We got some trials this weekend. Teamless Tuesday. We held back to get Teamless Tuesday. Big trials this week. Your lot play St Helens, of course, but we got the start of this ridiculous yet super important, if you listen to PVL, pre-season tournament. Mate, did anything jump out at you this week in the...
Well, I was going to say team list, when you're running squads of, 28 or something, it's not really a team list, as more, is there anyone who's not being picked?
Yeah, it's anyone's available. What I've noticed though this year, as opposed to because you usually get 2 trial games, Cronulla especially have named a mixture of first graders and reserves. Whereas last year, the first up game was purely reserves and squad players. Do you think, even in the back of the minds, that $100,000 reward was that responsible for that?
Look, you can very easily make that argument. You can make a whole range of different ways. And I immediately think about how the NFL does their pre-season, and you've got a whole range of different ways people go with that. Starting with your reserves and second, third stringers, and then working your way through 4 games. 2 games isn't very much. So you want to get some miles in the legs. You want to get your best players out there with the combinations and all those sorts of things. So it makes more sense when you've only got 2 games to give your best players the best shot they've got as well.
A lot of teams are looking at new combos. I did notice Brisbane, maybe they got their eye on the cash because they've named Reece Walsh, a couple of other first grades. Payne Haas is running out, which was a huge shock. He was about 1,001 to be named, so Kevy kept that close to his heart. Look, going back to the Sharks, because obviously I saw their side, we've named some exciting prospects, like Kyle Iro and a couple of Pulu making his debut, or pre-season debut for the Sharks in the half position. Wade Graham's playing the 6, which has raised some eyebrows. But up front, we've named pretty much a full-strength side. What about your little brother, your team, little brother, the Dragons, mate? What sort of squad they named?
Look, it's really difficult when you look at the injuries that they've got. Really sad to hear about Cody Ramsey and the condition he's got at the moment, and that'll kind of see him out for the whole season. Then you've got the stuff with Talatau Amone.
Jack Bird this week too.
Jack Bird, Jaden Sullivan's out with a hammy sort of thing. So I was almost waiting for the phone call to say, hey, could you play 6? And I'm like, I don't run that much these days.
Couldn't do any worse than the current lot.
Who knows? But look, St Helens, they'll be wanting to put on a decent effort, getting ready for Penrith next week. It'll be a decent game down there in Wollongong.
It'll be fun. Yeah, Saints versus Saints, of course.
Yeah, the Saints will win.
Yeah, well, they might be the only win they get this year. Now, of course, the big fixture this weekend, Saturday night, the unofficial, fast becoming official kick-off of the season, the All-Star game. Now, heads across Tasman for the first time, which I think is very exciting and probably a year or 2 overdue. COVID probably pushed that back, of course. Unfortunately, though, this game has become known as the game of players that are unavailable, players pulling out. What are your thoughts?
Oh, look, it's really tough, especially because it's a pre-season game, especially because realistically it's a meaningless rep game in the grand scheme. It's a big game, it's an important game, especially for the Indigenous and Maori cultures sort of thing. But yeah, no comp points, no international caps, all those sorts of things. There's kind of 2 categories that we've got here. We've got ones like Joey Manu, you can't play with a busted face. You're going to get pulled out. But there's been some other players, I'm pretty sure, where the club's probably said, you've got a bit of a hamstring, calf, pick your injury sort of thing, and a couple of weeks, you'll be right for round 1, but you can't play this week. There's probably been a bit of that, and we see in a lot of other sports as well that whole kind of club v country tension, and I'd say this is just an incident of it in rugby league. Makes it difficult. I think the Indigenous side has got some better replacements that have come in compared to the Maori side.
A lot bigger player pool, to be fair.
And so it's probably better for them. But these games, one of the best things about them is there is so much passion from both teams. It doesn't really matter who the players are on the team sheet. Both sides are going to fire up for it.
Took the words right out of my mouth. This game means so much more than who's out there. I mean, it's a shame that you lose Josh Adokar, who, when I think of this game, he's the face of it. You know, the Sharks got young Braden Trindle got called up, which is good for him because we saw last year Nico Hines debuted at half back in this game, had an absolute ripper on a really emotional week. So it's good for the players. Look, 100%. You look at the teams, there's 3 or 4 of them that rugby league nuts like myself just haven't heard of. It's just you know, the players aren't available. But like I said before, this game's worth much more, and I'm sure it'll be an absolute ripper on Saturday night. I hope they get a big crowd there. Supposedly it is close to, you know, capacity. So I'm really, really excited about that. Of course, the other game we're going to talk about just really quickly, again, it's the Saints versus Saints. This isn't in the pre-season cup. Again, the result doesn't matter. But St Helens, if they get beaten by your reserves playing into Penrith, it's a pretty important game for them.
Yeah, and you look at the players that are out for the Dragons. You look at the travel factor. Pretty much every team that had come to Australia from the UK before for the World Club Challenge has been wiped off the park. So the opportunity to play a game the week before is going to be helpful.
It's a very, very real possibility that happens again.
Yeah. And look, I think St Helens are a great side. You don't win, 4 premierships in a row?
Almost all of them, yeah.
Without having something to it. The game against Penrith is going to be great. I think this week it's going to be a very different sort of situation. Both teams trying to get some miles into the legs of players. But it'll be a fun shootout. You know, Wollongong, it'll probably be cold with the wind blowing off the ocean as it always is down there. But it'll be probably one. Maybe don't watch the whole 80, but find the highlights somewhere.
No, I like it, as I do for most Dragons games. Of course, going back this past weekend, though, this isn't the first football. We saw the Dolphins debut, kind of, and win, which may be their only win this season.
They might still get one against the Tigers. Who knows?
They might. And, of course, the Broncos they won their game too. Reserves, doesn't really matter, but it's still fun. I stream both games because, you know, I love rugby league.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Speaking of the Dolphins and the Broncos, that Dolphins uniform they were wearing against the Capras remind me of Broncos 2016 away jersey with that ridiculous kind of yellow V thing down the bottom. It wasn't a good look then, and it is not a good look now. So
there's some free advice. Now, Stegs,
Dan,
you can't go a week in rugby league without a negative headline. We've seen all the positive. You know, football's back. We're doing this. We're not talking about PVL. He's been blocked from the show for a couple of weeks. Jack White and Latrell Mitchell, talk to me, mate. What are your thoughts?
Well, I put my dad hat on first and say nothing good happens at 4:30 in the morning. The worst bit of it is that it's not even a situation where the public's got involved and there's been a bit of a fracas sort of thing. It's just the two boys together and just getting up to ridiculous stuff. So,
in terms of incidents, it's a storm in a teacup, but it's just, they should know better. I mean, these aren't two 18-year-old kids who got caught up. These are blokes that have had off-field issues and should be home by that time. But, you know, boys will be boys. This will be forgotten in 3 weeks. Although I do want to say Latrell Mitchell should be suspended for round 1. I don't know who they play, but, I mean, I just, straight off the bat. And finally, Mitch Moses will, look, every single week, his contract status will dominate on and off the field. Every single press conference we saw earlier yesterday, he was asked point blank, what's doing? He's staying with Parramatta or he's still looking at the Tigers? And his quote was something along the lines of, it's with my management. And not good enough.
I have a lot of sympathy for players in these situations because you kind of stuffed whatever you say. It's going to get twisted one way or the other. In this situation, Bud, he has not helped himself.
Not at all.
And, you know, you can say, look, we're still in discussions. That might be what he's trying to say. Management's talking to Parramatta and maybe to the Tigers as well. And they're kind of nutting out some of the details and then we'll be able to announce something. But if you say that, that doesn't actually shut the questions up. That just gets more and more intensity into it in the weeks that go.
Gives fools like me ammo to come on shows like this. Now, if I'm a Parramatta fan, I'm worried about this because I want to hear my $1 million halfback say, it doesn't matter, that'll all work itself out. I'm focused purely on Parramatta. For him to even mention the Tigers in this situation, if that was Nico Hines, who would never do that, by the way, I would be fuming. Now, I got no sympathy for Parramatta fans. It's hilarious. Tigers fans have got to think they're right in this.
And with some of the movement that the Tigers have got, there may be some cap space that's going to be available. Front end some contracts this year to increase the space next year. Look, Rugby League is a funny game, and who knows what's going to happen here, but it's definitely going to be interesting.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Tigers or Parramatta, where does he end up next year?
I think he stays.
Yeah, me too. He's not going to Tigers. Stegs.
Dan?
We're close to Rugby League, which means it's time.
Touch it.
I'm so keen. You can see some terrible memes from me this week. Top 4 or top 5, because the Dolphins have thrown us out, of course. We're going to preview 4 teams today. We're going to leave the Sharks out because Terry, waiting on the big man to return.
You didn't want me to talk Sharks?
Absolutely not. Not even for a second. So we're going to... When they come up, we'll move on next week.
Yeah.
Now, your thoughts may be different to here, but too bad it's my show. I call the shots. In 5th place, we've got the North Queensland Cowboys. Can they repeat what they did last year?
Look, nobody expected them to do what they did last year.
We had them last.
It shows us what we know.
Exactly.
Can they do it again? Look, anything is possible. I think an extra 12 months for them as a team. They've got a little bit more cohesion. They haven't had a whole lot of movement in the roster either. That always helps. I think they could go further than 5th, but they will definitely be there and thereabouts come the end of the year.
Look, I couldn't, in good conscience, put them in the top 4. It just couldn't make it happen. Look, Hammer's out. That's probably the only really big loss. I brought James Taumale back, which raised a few eyebrows, especially from me. Don't know if I rate that signing, but happy to eat Kerr after a couple of weeks. He's a great dude. Met his brother on grand final night after they beat the Bronx. Fantastic night. I like this Cowboys side. You know, you got Ruben Cotter, who's very likeable. You got Val Holmes, who's very likeable. Scott Drinkwater, honestly, if I could pick anyone to complete the Sharks, it's Scott Drinkwater. I mean, obviously, other than Prime Thurston, of course. But I like this side a lot more than I did last year. I know a lot of that's on they played really well last year. Todd Payton, whose speech is still going from the Daily M's, I heard, was very, very good. He has everything right. They're going to be hard to beat. I would not be shocked if they go into the top 4 by any stretch. What I don't like is that people have had 6 months now to figure them out. Last year it was, what do we do about the Cowboys? Because you don't know. Chad Townsend is very formulaic. I'm very harsh on him for good reason, in my mind. I just don't think he's got another year to go up, and I think that will hold him back from finishing in the top 4.
The one thing that you might offset that with is Reece Robson.
Great player, fantastic player. May play Origin this year.
Yeah, and former Dragon. But when he left the Dragons, you would not have necessarily seen exactly what he's produced in the last couple of seasons up the Cowboys. So I think that speed out of 9 definitely can make up for some of the difficulties that Chad has at 7. So, look, they will be fun to watch, and I think they will be able to kind of tweak their game plan a little bit to still have something to surprise teams this year.
Completely fair. Now, look, a side that is no surprise to anyone we have in the top 4 is the South Sydney Rabbitohs. They've managed to hold on to almost their entire squad, the same squad that played in a prelim last year, had Penrith on the ropes for a good 30 minutes, absolutely resold the Sharks in Week 2. Do you think they can go as far again?
The one thing, Dan, we can say about this season, which was very similar to last season, that top 4 to 6 is going to be incredibly tight.
Agreed.
And there are probably teams just on the edge of that 6 that could easily come through into that group as well. South Sydney, they're going to be there and thereabouts again. They, like I said, very stable roster. A lot of it's going to come down to keeping players fit.
Yeah, true.
Last season, Mitchell goes out. They have players who can come in, but it doesn't have that same level. It drops down a little bit. So if they keep Trell healthy, if they keep Cook healthy, if the halves are able to keep gelling, top 4, very easy again. And they've got a pedigree now of being able to perform in the finals as well.
True, very true. I don't know if they'll go to a prelim this year. I think that spine is incredible. Therefore, I think Cam Murray's arguably the best forward in the game. On his day, there's no more damaging. Like he took Dale Finucane, who I don't think anyone will argue has been a top lock for many years, made him look like an absolute fool in that game. Now, I know Dale was a little under the weather, but Cam Murray, I cannot talk him up enough. I don't know if they've got the forward pack to match the big boys, but they've got a pack that can just trounce the lesser teams. So anywhere from second to fourth to fifth, maybe even sixth for South Sydney, I just can't leave them out of the top four. I think they're going to go a long, long way this year. Demetrio's got another year under his belt. He's a fantastic coach. Brilliant pedigree. I think Lockie Ilias is another who's going to have another year. Alex Johnson's going to score 50 tries. Cody Walker's going to go crazy. If they make it through Origin unscathed, yeah, look, a prelim again. I don't think they can beat. They've done their dust. They're not making a grand final. But whatever, 27th prelim in a row, not out of the question.
Yeah, and I think hearing you talk there, it sums up a whole lot of what you do at this end of the season. If. And I don't think there's too many ifs that have got to line up for the Bunnies, but the big one is those injuries and the spine working together. Ilias and Walker last year, still some teething stuff at different times, but another pre-season, all of that, they will be definitely one to watch.
Can be hard to beat. Spoiler alert, we got the Sharks at third. They'll be fantastic. Best player in the game, best looking player in the game. We'll talk about him next week. But second, mate, is the Sydney Roosters, the team we all love to hate, but I think we're just going to have to accept that they're very, very good this year.
They might be very good, but I don't have them in my four.
Tell me why.
I really don't. I think there's too much inconsistency there. I think some of the players that have come in and out are going to be difficult. I don't know where they're going to play Brandon Smith. I don't think they know how to play Brandon Smith. They will try and shoehorn him into different places, but I don't think he's going to work. And I especially don't think a team with Brandon Smith and Victor Radley is going to work together. Two hotheads who could very easily both get themselves sin-binned at the same time, and then throw Warrior Hargreaves in there. You can be playing with 10 men sometimes.
That's not untrue.
But yeah, so I wouldn't have them that high, but I can understand why you've got them there because, again, it's one of those things that if they get all guns firing, two words, Joey Manu.
Yeah, how do you stop him? You can't.
But again, that's the same question. Where do you play him?
He has to play centre because they've got arguably the best fullback in the game. They got 3 of the top 10 fullbacks playing in that team. Now, Suoli probably isn't there. Bit of hyperbole there. But these 3 are fantastic. You got Tupu. Their spine's fantastic. Now, I think Smith has to play 9 because they've let Verrills go. And there's not a whole lot behind him. Whether he can play 80 minutes, I have serious doubts. Because when he was asked to play big minutes at hooker for the Storm last year against the Sharks, he gassed. He got angry, he yelled at the ref, and he got sat down. He should have been sent off straight off, but he copped 10. We saw in the World Cup semi-final, him gasping underneath while everyone lined up. I think it was Cam Murray ran straight through him. Boom, World Cup final. If he hasn't worked on his fitness, and I'm not bagging the bloke, this guy's fit, but we're asking him to play a different position. Us being the Roosters, of course, those guys. Look, I'm not going to cry too many tears if they fall away, but I just can't see it. That squad is so good.
Yeah. Again, it's going to be one of those things of how you put all the puzzle pieces together, and I'm not going to put it past Trent Robinson to be able to work that puzzle out.
Quickly. They may start slow, so Roosters fans, they'll be sipping lattes, they won't be watching this show. But just stick with it. You're going to have a fantastic season, and I hate you.
And probably lose on Anzac Day.
Of course, number 1, no surprises here. The Penrith Panthers. Speaking of teams you love to hate, Penrith, they're too good and I hate it.
I love them. As a Dragons fan, I really enjoy watching them play. It is
find some joy.
It is. Could be worse. Could be a Tigers fan. But they're so good to watch. They play a really great brand of football. Dylan Edwards last season was just incredible at the back. And I think there's going to be a lot of push because not only have they had some players out to different clubs this season, but with Crichton already going, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 1 or 2 others who move on after this season.
It's tough to hold
There's
on.
going to be one of those kind of in it for the last time. Let's let's go back to back to back.
It's just what they need, more motivation.
Yeah, but they will need motivation because once you've done it once, it's hard to go back. Once you've done it twice...
We've never seen it, or in the modern era.
No.
It hasn't been done. You're exactly right. Crichton's going to want to go out in a premiership. You know, these young players... Cleary's got a chip on his shoulder the size of Manhattan. So he's going to want to continue this incredible streak he's on. You know, hopefully he plays his best games in Origin, very selfishly. But, I mean, this is a bloke who has all the talent and abilities to be in the conversation in 10 years as one of the best ever. These are their peak years. Look, I can't see anyone really stopping them. I'm hoping they have an off game when it comes to the finals. That's the only thing that can beat them. Now, they are missing William kick-out, who's a big out. Luke Garner's a very good in. I think they'll, you know, no one's kick-out, but Garner's very good.
If you're going to make a replacement, it's a pretty good one to
He's a beauty. The Tigers never got the best out of him. I guarantee you they will at the foot of the mountains. The big out is Api Coruscant. You bring in the New South Wales Cup player of the match, and I'm pretty sure, you know, that Mitch Kenny's a freak. He played very well in the grand final, but he's not Api Coruscant. That's the only question I have about this side.
It's a big question, but I can't doubt the way the Panthers put their teams together. And with Mitch Kenny and with Sonny Luke and with other players coming through, there's definitely talent there. The big question will be, again, coming back to the ifs, if they do have a run of injuries together, do they have the bunch who can come up? They've got one or two who are definitely there already, but have they got half a dozen to 10 who can step up and jump in straight away? That might be the only thing that really derails their season.
They have lost a lot of depth. You know, one of them's playing halfback for the Dolphins. So, look, yeah, that's the only thing. And I don't wish negative upon anyone, but it would be nice to, like, beat them. I'm not going to lie. Just can't see it happen. I think Penrith lifted behind a premiership for the 57th time in a row. Now, before we get into some hot takes, and they are spicy hot this week, I just want to take a moment to shout out our great mates at Zero Tackle, who have worked extremely hard to put together the most, incredible, amazing, fantastic, all the words you can think of season preview. It's available now. Jump on to zerotackle.com and buy your season guide. Use the code OUTLAWS, 10% discount. You won't find that anywhere else. Ding, possibly you might. But ours is the code you need. 10% off, Zero Tackle, jump on. I personally didn't contribute this year. So, you know, unbiasedly, it's the best thing you'll ever read.
That's probably the best because you haven't.
We'll see. But look, let's get into the hot takes. Now, for those that weren't watching last week, shame on you. We got 5 hot takes, obviously, from Twitter followers who have come in and thrown opinions because last year we put the Cowboys at 16th and I haven't heard the end of it. So it's your turn. A great mate of the show, Nat Sinclair, great person, make sure you follow her. Says the Roosters will fail this year, which for her means they won't meet the top 4. And she also says that Melbourne will be back to business and will make the grand final. What are your thoughts?
Well, definitely agree with Roosters. I don't think they're going to make the top 4. The Storm, again, we talked before about Trent Robinson and what he can do. Bellamy has a track record that's, you know, as long as 5 arms sort of thing. So anything's possible.
Don't hate this, Nat. I can't see the Storm getting past maybe first week finals. If they run into Canberra, they're no chance. They cannot beat them in the finals. It's about 3 or 4 times in a row. But yeah, maybe. Next we go to, I was going to say my mate Pikey, but that's an absolute lie. He's a horrible troll. Says the Sharks will miss the 8. He's trying to get a rise out of me. Tell him why he's wrong.
Look, you look at that squad and there's no way they miss the 8 unless, 13 of them end up in hospital with broken legs or something. As a Dragons fan, but seriously, they will make the 8. They will probably be... You've got them 3rd. I probably would have had them again on the edge of the 4, maybe top 6 sort of thing. But there's no way they're missing the 8 unless something drastic goes wrong.
Completely fair. Look, 100% agreed. I'm obviously very biased, but Nico Hines, genius footballer. You got another year and all the youngsters. Kyle Hero's going to make a huge impact this year. It's a real shame that Cade Dykes got injured, but we got talent out the yin yang. That's a ridiculous take. You lose, Pikey. See you at Magic Round. Next one, someone's taking this seriously, which is good to see. Our good mate Rick, Rowdy Fig Jam, said the Warriors will come out in front of the Broncos this year is Charles Nickel-Clockstar will be a better fullback than Reece Walsh. What are your thoughts?
There's two very good fullbacks there.
True.
And two fullbacks who have had some very good seasons recently. Will C&K be ahead of Walsh at the end of the year? Flip a coin. Will the Warriors be ahead of the Broncos? I don't think so.
Absolutely not.
I think the Broncos outperformed what people expected last year. I think Adam Reynolds had a massive influence there. And again, like we've said with a couple of teams talking before, another pre-season, another opportunity to kind of gel together. The only wild card into the mix is if the Broncos players just start completely ignoring Kevy Walters.
It's on the cards. There's a hot take for you, but look, the only potential issue I see with this here is that Chance may start at centre because they brought Tamari Martin across to play fullback, and I can't see him being overly happy with being chucked in the centre straight away. Fantastic player. So is Reece Walsh. Don't hate this at all. I think Walsh may come out looking better, so I think Brisbane are going to have a much better season. Now, a very good mate of the show, AJ, has said, and I quote, Penrith will run out of stamina and not win 3 in a row. History says he's right. Replacing a premiership winning hooker with a mid-tier hooker, big call, something you backed up, won't work. Look what happened when the Roosters replaced Cronk with Flanagan. Don't hate this at all.
I don't hate it, but it's also hard to see what those players are going to be like until they actually get there. Mitch Kenny has performed, and I think having Sonny Luke off the bench, which is likely going to be the situation, definitely gives them a good 1-2 punch. Are they going to be exactly as good as Koroisau straight away? Probably not, because Koroisau is a veteran and a very good player. But I don't think that's going to be the problem for Penrith if there is a problem this year.
I agree. I said just a few minutes ago, the only thing I can see beating Penrith is someone being better on the day. Origin's going to be huge for them because if they get the injury, and look, they've had a very good run with injuries the last 2 seasons. It happens. The Sharks had an almost perfect run in 2016. So did the Roosters years before and after. If Cleary gets hurt, they're a different side, as with most halfbacks. I think they do run out of steam. I don't think it's possible for a team in this era to go back to back to back. But if anyone can do it, it's this Penrith side.
Only one way to find out.
And last but not least, TN Baldwin, big fan of the show. He's been with us since the start. Thank you, mate. We really appreciate you. Not quite a hot take. Don't agree with that. But is Dave Fafita the new Dave Taylor?
Oh, that's
spicy.
That is hot. And realistically, it could very easily go that way. I think Fafita's got more ability and potential than the Coltrane did.
Completely fair.
But, man, when he is off, he might as well not get on the field. When he doesn't have his head in the game, he's not there.
There were games last year for the Titans where you were thinking, Fafita's going to come on and kill him. And then is he even come on? He's been on for 20 minutes. So I can definitely see that. I don't think the Titans will re-sign him unless he has a wow of a season, because this is a bloke who's going to put his hand up for $1 million. Last year, he wasn't worth half that, yet there were games where he came on, you're thinking, oh, geez, this guy's the best forward in the game. If he doesn't find that level of consistency, I can absolutely see him going down that track. Now, to be fair, Taylor, when he went to the Titans, he was a lot further in the career. So there's the Titans link. But what he achieved compared to what he could have achieved, I don't think he got anywhere near it. I think Fafita will be a better player. I don't hate this, though. If he doesn't have a good season this year, we're coming back to this because it's very, very spicy. Hey, thanks again for watching Rugby League Outlaws this week, guys. Of course, we're brought to you by a Punch of Media, a great mates at Top Sport, onelittlefootyfan.com.au. And the Stubby Club, make sure you like, subscribe, show everyone some love. We want to see lots of positivity in the comments. Rugby League is back. Life is good. Make sure you follow Stags. Thanks so much on Twitter.
I'll tell you what, this side of the lounge, very comfortable. I could be here next week if you want.
Terry, I miss you.